Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I have to start this article by prefacing a question. So, tell me if you were growing up in the noughties, did you ever watch a segment they would put on during commercial breaks called Nicktrition? These would essentially just be very small, like just little infomercials that would be on Nickelodeon, and they would talk about healthier living, and they would talk about the importances of exercise and what things will do to your heart, and little trivia facts about your heart and stuff like that. Fun little tidbits and stuff like that. Well, clearly they were clearly lost on Chris because, well, let's get straight to it, shall we? This article is rated M for honest content. Honestly, don't eat like Chris. Like, most people would say Chris eats like a pig, but pigs do have a tendency to chew their food. If anything, Chris eats like a duck. He has about as much taste as a duck as well, because that just looks like a mess with just some microwaved cheese and meat on top of it. I'm not particularly the biggest fan of Mexican food myself, but it's mostly because of this concoction. Food is both a biological imperative and a cultural medium for humans. The human body is meant to run on a wide variety of foodstuffs for a balanced diet, and cultures around the world have created a multitude of dishes using available ingredients, mostly from animal and plant sources. More recently, however, food has become industrialized, which makes food cheaper and tastier. To the love of our hero Chris, unfortunately, this industrial Western diet doesn't always carry the best nutrition. Then again, nothing really on earth carries the best nutrition either, but anyway, also for what this is worth, something different for lunch today. I've been re-binging Kim Possible on Disney+, so I love KP a lot. If you're seeing this, 2 soft shell tacos and an order of nachos. I made a nacho, he calls it. Even though this looks like it was just straight up, it was probably on the menu at Taco Bell, so probably not. Also, I would not go near that, as I mentioned before. Cooking abilities. I'm surprised this is as long as it is. Chris claims that he cooks for himself 3 or 4 times a week. Okay, you know what? Wait, hang on. Can you hear that? Bullshit! Making his cooking a major source of his nutrition. He has said that he has took home ec classes in school and that he owns cookbooks. Let me guess, the cookbook's usually using to prop up a desk or something like that. However, when Jackie asked him to cook spaghetti, an incredibly basic dish, mind you, in a YouTube video, he dodged responsibility by claiming that Barbara had blocked up the kitchen with the junk. You know, because this article is so short, I'm just going to put that video on at the end. So, it's one of the most embarrassing and most perplexing videos Chris has possibly ever done. No hyperbole about that as well, or exaggeration. And you'll see soon. Anyway, sorry, where was I? So he instead mimed the act and microwaved some canned spaghetti and meatballs. It can be deduced from this that Chris can't or doesn't cook, and simply buys microwavable meals every time he claims to be eating at home. In an August 2017 letter written to Kelly Sheridan, Chris claimed to have taken up basic cooking skills as a way to keep his mind more active. It's unknown whether or not Kelly ever read this letter. In addition, Barb stopped cooking for Chris after he and Barb had turned down a spaghetti meal she had offered them. An over-exaggerated much? A turn down he claimed to have deeply apologized for, making it even less likely that Chris eats anything that requires to be cooked, let alone anything that requires time and preparation to be made. Fast food. As a result of his minimal cooking skills, and due to how even the simplest of tasks tire him out, Chris often prefers to eat out over making food by himself. He is an infamous fast food lover. eating at either McDonald's, Burger King, or some other fast food restaurant at least once a day. He has known to dine up to 4 times a day. The fact that he's merely fat and not morbidly obese with such an awe-inspiring calorific intake and in active lifestyle suggests a fairly high metabolism, one which will almost certainly not last indefinitely. The frequency of his fast food trips was confirmed in 2015, when a Kiwi Farms user sent him $500 to see what he would do with it. A pretty out there social experiment, and here comes the consumption of food article, including with a big old fat old dump of bullshit right here. Many times, Chris has been shown to be a glutton for all kinds of food, eating excessively in public places and during parties. His complexion also gives insight into his daily nutrition, often showing various signs of acne and acne scarring. According to Chris, he eats more vegetables than any other food group. The veracity of this statement is dubious, to say the least, given what is known about Chris's medical history and health in general, as well as his tendency to lie. Let's not call it lying, let's just calling it not telling the truth. During the father call, Chris told Casey's father that he was prescribed Lipitor for his high cholesterol. He claimed he stopped taking the drug in fall of 2009, but whether he was being honest, given especially the number of obvious lies he told about his health in the course of the rest of the call, is uncertain. When Chris admits to going to McDonald's regularly for his meals, including the time in the father call, he will often fall back on another lie that he only eats the salads provided and drink the lemonade. This is ironic, as McDonald's salads were actually proven to contain more calories than an average Big Mac meal, due to the sauce that came with them. Chris also seems to be under the impression that lemonade is healthier because it has, or at least tastes vaguely like, lemons, despite them being just as unhealthy as any other type of soda. In 2016, he began listening to subliminal frequency hypnosis videos under the false belief that they would improve his health. He liked videos such as lose weight super fast, eliminate armpit odor permanently fast, lower your blood pressure fast, hypertension treatment, and produce odorless farts fast. There is no sort of scientific and medical evidence that proves listening to binaural beats can do any of these things. The only real health effect is hearing loss if listened to at high volume and maybe possibly a headache. In 2017, Chris had a brief online relationship with Jessica Quinn, who has a fat fetish and influenced Chris with it. The Solitude comic features an obese Rose Chew in issue 12. After their breakup, Chris consumed a huge bowl of ice cream and then took a side photo of his gut saying, "This, right here, was all hers." This marks one of the only times that Chris has admitted he has obesity issues. And yes, I suppose for what they are worth, let me just pull up this one little thing I just kind of wanted to showcase to you guys, and it's sort of like a little bit further down here, is that, yes, apparently this all was boasting for, this could have been Jessica Quinn, and you've got like this 5-year-old kid just in the background looking very confused as to what the hell was going on. True story. Probably. In 2019, Chris showed us the idea of a salad, mostly made with unhealthy ingredients like bacon bits and croutons. Why couldn't Chris even do so? Chris couldn't even go to the extent of doing something as basic as a Caesar salad. I mean, yes, you may argue, Caesar dressing may not be the healthiest, but you know what? Caesar salads are fantastic. They are outside of maybe a Mediterranean salad, it is like the dog's bollocks of salads. In 2020, Chris claimed to make breakfast omelets, which was just scrambled eggs with ghost pepper sauce or spinach. In October of 2023, Chris posted photos of his snack bowl consisting of fruits, a large chunk of dark chocolate, and a liberal amount of what appears to be whipped topping. Chris touted the vitamin benefits of the fruits among the snacks, but unfortunately for him, the nutritional benefit is outweighed by the excessive amount of sugars contained in the bowl. Jail food. Since the jail saga saw Chris incarcerated for quite a while, it's safe to assume he broke his long-standing policy of not eating prison food and entered the regular diet alongside the other jail inmates. Chris stated that he liked the selection of food items the jail had for sale. In an October 2021 letter, Chris discussed the quality of the meals by writing that the food's mostly good and well, not perfect meatballs, banquet diners have better meatballs, and the chicken is often dry. I didn't know exactly where Chris what he thought jail was going to be like, but there you are. It's I don't think it's quite occurred to Chris by that point yet. As of the 3rd of May 2022, following his 3-month stay at Western State Hospital, his weight noticeably dropped since he was unable to exploit the begging for junk food money loophole he once had access to, and his final mugshot taken upon his release on the 27th of March 2023 showed him having shred even more pounds. After exiting incarceration, Chris had regained all of his lost weight, especially underneath his neck. Hydration and water consumption. Before 2020, Chris rarely drank water and focused a lot more on carbonated drinks and energy drinks, which have been proven to increase erratic behavior. This was such that an entire page of the Quickie is partly dedicated to just how much Coca-Cola he drank over the span of 2 years. On many of the days between the 6th of March 2007 and the 4th of September 2009, Chris drank about 1.8 litres over 3 pints of Coke every day, assuming that none of it was drunk by his equally obese parents, so he could gain points on mycokerewards.com. This represents a grotesque 195 grams, nearly 7 ounces of sugar per day from Coke alone, representing almost 800 calories, 1/3 of his daily calorie intake. To put that into perspective, Chris drank enough Coke to fill 10 oil barrels in order to get the amount of points he got. Needless to say, the effects are staggering. On record, he apparently consumed a whopping 120 cans of Coca-Cola on the 9th of April 2008, the 24th of March 2009, and the 15th of August 2009. How this didn't send him into immediate diabetic shock is anybody's guess. And if your response to that is saying that Chris had Diet Coke or Coke Zero, I'm pretty sure even for what was in that anyway, it would have done damage. The only response would have been probably caffeine-free Coke, but what makes you think Chris would have wanted that? Before his arrest in July of 2021, Chris drank tons of water from a Glacier water bottle with an amethyst crystal inside. He believes that there are many health problems that drinking water in this fashion can cure, such as food poisoning, which would have only have been relevant if Chris, had actually been food poisoned, which we know he didn't. While this is not actually true, it's at least far healthier than drinking tons of soft drinks. Ever since the discovery of himself being Goddess CPU Blueheart, he had used this bottle constantly as a way to charge up his powers. His powers, I should say, in order to help further the merge into its future stages. The reason he went with the amethyst crystal is most likely the same reason that he uses the amethyst ring in the comics as the main source of power. So, therefore, Chris used this bottle as a way to inadvertently make his powers stronger, I guess. As a result of, as of 2023, Chris has developed an interest in the popular energy drink GFuel, which would have just been Bang a couple of years ago, I suppose. I'm surprised Chris hasn't moved on to Prime either. Likely because the brand is known to constantly release flavors in partnerships with various gaming/media franchises. An unsurprising example being that he was seen looking at Sonic the Hedgehog themed GFuel cans during a post-jail release shopping trip. Given the canned drink has an average of 300 milligrams of caffeine, equivalent to about 3 cups of coffee, it's likely Chris may have slipped back into his erratic behavioral patterns relatively quick. Also, the results of Chris's diet, and even though I did an entire article about health, we could also talk about obesity and the same image in question. Chris has been overweight for all of, or nearly all of his adult life, and obese for a large portion of it. Dental hygiene. Chris's teeth have obviously suffered greatly during the decades of constant sugary abuse. Several videos which he exposes his teeth have revealed that his molars are rotten and full of cavities, while his frontal teeth are yellowish at best and an olive colour at worst. This, combined with his infamous lack of hygienic prowess, means that it's flat out a miracle that all of his teeth haven't fallen out at this point. Behavioural issues. Caffeine is a well-known stimulant and can impair one's ability to sleep. Chris's drinks all have plenty of caffeine in them, from coffee to Coca-Cola. Chris is undoubtedly addicted to both, and cups of coffee were spotted throughout the hallway in 14 Branch Lane Court, just before the coffee maker burned down the entire house. Fecal incontinence. It is believed that Chris's diet is one of the causes for his fecal incontinence, the other one being rammed stuff into his rectum, as chronic constipation can be one cause of fecal incontinence. Chris's diet of McDonald's, microwavable food, and little or no fruit or vegetables is very likely ridiculously low on fiber, and thus a surefire way of causing constipation, and Chris has been going on with this diet for goodness knows how long. Irritable bowel syndrome may be another reason for Chris's problems with controlling his bowels. The cause of IBS is not known, but 2 major triggers are stress and poor diets, with wheat, dairy, and carbonated drinks being known as IBS triggers. Chris has been given a testament to fast food not agreeing with him. However, being raised on a poor diet, it's unlikely he'll stop eating junk anytime soon. It's about all he can think about at this time, and the denial of his poor diet, which is just about what you expect. It's the sort of thing that makes you want to say, Chris, only want to help you, Chris. Chris often denies his diet is doing more harm to him than good. In the father call, Chris constantly lies about his poor eating habits to an unimpressed Matthew Devoria. At one point, he went off on a tangent about how he stuffed vegetables and fruits down his throat. This was after Matt metaphorically compared his daughter's book reading to how much candy Chris probably consumes. Did you get all that? Good. So, I would say that's about... We really don't need, to talk about anything else apart from Chris doesn't feed himself. The only food Chris will actually eat is going to send him to an early grave, despite the fact that Chris is into his nearly into his mid-40s, and yet seems relatively mundane to the idea that he's actually just about screwed himself for goodness knows how many of his adult years because of what he's done to his body. And I suppose it's just like a final tidbit just before we leave. The proof, ladies and gentlemen, that Chris probably wouldn't dare know how to cook for himself, leading to this video. So
for this presentation I was going to make some spaghetti live in the kitchen, but unfortunately I don't have access to the stove because Mama put a whole bunch of crap in the way. So I am going to mime it.
Why Chris couldn't have just moved
Here's
the
the pot.
stuff himself, but look at this though.
Put it on the stove. Set it to the boiling temperature. In time, the water's boiling. So we take this pot of spaghetti noodles, put up the pots, and click, 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 click. Noodles, smell so good. Hey, look at that. Trippy, no stiffy. I offer you some non-stiff trippy. But it's hot right now, so you might want to wait a while. Yeah, I say our noodles are done. Then we drain the water out. We get some plates. Oh, wait a minute. We're serving two. I'm just kidding.
And bear in mind, guys, this is Chris trying to prove himself that he can actually, you know, take care of Jackie by... I know this has always been, like, one of those videos that's always, like, really caught me out because I don't really know what I'm supposed to say apart from, wow, Chris looks like an idiot for doing this. But it has to be stated, and I will never, ever not grow tired of saying this. It's the fact... It's not even the fact that, well... Chris is just that pathetic that he can't move stuff out of the way to actually bother to try and cook. But you'll see for another point I'm gonna make.
We don't want any noodles left behind. We'll rinse that out later. In the meantime, here's a good jar of marinara sauce. There we go, I popped the seal. And now, some grated mozzarella. Oh, I got a pop the seal. Other spices from my father's collection, which includes rosemary, garlic, parsley, whatever. And you can make your own meatballs with processed meat and putting it on a tray or something, letting it grow, and then rolling it on with the balls. But they're not so good, not as good, are they? So why bother with that? Well, you can buy your own meatballs.
Yeah, that's also the point I was getting to. Ignoring the fact that Chris just gets marinara sauce out of a jar, not even knowing just to, like, even I can make marinara sauce, but the fact that Chris is actually under the impression that packaged, pre-made meatballs taste better than actually making them yourself. Like, really? That's, like... It doesn't... I don't... you know what I mean? Like, it's... And this is also, like, it's paramount to the other problems we mentioned about Chris's diet, is that Chris is now under the impression that just pre-packaged, industrialized crap tastes better than things that are actually made organically, things that are made, you know, by hand.
We had this package of Swedish meatballs cook it in the microwave already, so they're warming up already. And in the end, on one, at least one of the 2 plates, you get something like this. Yummy, yummy, delicious.
Well, like I said, it's just...
So now we can sit down and eat our spaghetti.
Chef Boyardee.
It is so delicious.
Rubbish.
It smells so good. You want a bite? Look at this. You want a bite? So good. You better take a bite, because you know what? What's this? What's this? You watching? I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you for real life. That's fun. Hey, at least my head's not fucking orange. Like a certain cash.
Yeah, by the way, whatever. Okay, so, yeah, that's about that. I really wish there was anything more I could say apart from... No, how about ravioli, give me the formuoli, and I'll see you guys again next time. So take care, and bye-bye for now.